for a platform. Sorry about that. The link is posted in the Zoom chat. It's a great way to stay connected in the South Jersey sustainability community and ask them to share events. Back to tonight's meeting. We have a pretty full agenda tonight, so we ask our speakers to be efficient with their time. We could always pick up the conversation in the roundtable discussion after we get through the agenda items. We always try to have a theme for these get-togethers, and tonight's focus, given that we're well into spring, has a heavy emphasis on farming and gardening. Now I'd like to pass it over to Sean Mohan.
Hey, thanks, Val. Good evening, everybody. We have a packed agenda, as Val said, but just wanted to go over a really important thing that is a big problem in our community is illegal dumping, right? And so it impacts the communities that probably least need it. Our frontline communities are certainly impacted by it as much as any other communities. And this is a good story because one of our local elected officials actually has had the courage to step in and do something about that. And so our own Assemblyman Bill Moen, who no relation to me, represents the it's the 5th legislative district, and it's parts of Camden and Gloucester counties. And so we're going to bring in Assemblyman Bill Moen to talk about his this excellent piece of legislation he's just introduced. Assemblyman Moen, are you there?
Hi, Sean, I am here. And I have to admit, it did cross my mind at some point that there's only one letter that is different between your last name and mine, and it sounds quite similar.
You own the faucet,
right? No, if I own the faucet, I don't know if I'd be in the legislature. But I do want to just say thank you for the opportunity. And for everyone, I understand you have a packed agenda. I will be very brief. I do want to mention, if I can, with the time I have. So when I was younger, I had the opportunity to serve as a coach for the North Camden Little League. And for those that aren't familiar with the city of Camden, North Camden Little League is within the area of obviously North Camden. They play at Pine Point Park, which is a park that's situated along the Delaware River and across really from where Petty's Island is located. One of the things that I personally noticed when I was coaching was that we would find ourselves as we'd arrive at practice to coach these young kids from Camden and North Camden and Kramer Hill, that folks would be coming in the middle of the night and dumping their pickup trucks full of trash and debris, construction material, and otherwise, within 15 feet of the first base line from where these kids were playing every day. And you have to imagine, we are within, I would say, 50 feet to 100 feet of the Delaware River. And so as I was coaching, we would talk with parents, and it was absolutely identified that this was such a problem, because not only was there a question of whether this product that was being dumped here was hazardous to the river and perhaps any of the lands that was there, but there were absolutely days where I was coaching where I could see a gust of wind blowing things that you could imagine could be harmful to the residents and the kids that we were coaching while they're on the ball field. And for those that are on this call that may have grown up in different areas of New Jersey and otherwise, I think we all would agree that the last thing that we should expect our children to expect is to have to deal with that kind of thing as they're learning the game of baseball. So that's just one example that I had coming into this conversation. But I must say that for me, the impetus for me sponsoring this legislation was coupled and paired with that experience, but then also the conversations that I've had locally with some of the community groups in the city of Camden and otherwise. And it's no hidden secret at all that the city of Camden ends up paying out of pocket over $4 million a year to dispose of the illegal dumping that they identify. I cannot imagine many other municipalities around the state of New Jersey having to deal with that. And so the message that I've heard from the community, from groups across the city, whether in Kramer Hill or South Camden, to Centerville, to Cooper Grant. They want us to be able to show the state these illegal dumpers that Camden is not their dumping ground. And look, I say this up front because, as you'll hear, there are other municipalities around the state that, once they heard we were doing this, have reached out. At this point, what I did was I worked with the community leaders to introduce legislation. For those that want to do further research, the bill number is A5663. And in a very quick sense, what it does is it increases the penalties for unauthorized transportation, which is key, transportation, and then the disposal of solid waste. And so, to just go through some very quick points here, fines would be doubled for illegal dumping. Community service would be increased from 90 days to 180 days. And the idea there would be, in a perfect scenario, the people that are caught doing this, the idea would be that they then would have to complete their community service in the communities that they felt they could dump in. And that's really where we're going with this. The other pieces of the legislation would be that the owner can sue for damages for up to 3 times the amount of the damages that they had incurred. So imagine a private lot or a business. If you were listening to NJ 1015 last week, they had callers that were calling in saying they owned warehouses in Camden that had cameras pick up people that were illegal dumping. Well, in most cases, that dumping is not necessarily going to be addressed if it were not for the municipal government working with these private lots and owners. And that's where the price tag adds up for the city of Camden. It's because the city, DPW, the Department of Public Works, they then are the folks that are expected in many of these instances to come out and pick up the trash that was illegally dumped. And so then it becomes not just a crime to commit against an individual lot, but it really becomes a crime that I would argue is one that is committed against all of us as the taxpayers of the state. So the last thing I'll mention is that the local government will have a piece, an avenue for them to also recover their expenses, which is not something that can be offered now. So this does create an avenue for a place like Camden or Newark or Patterson for the municipal government to go after these damages. And the last thing I'll say, Sean, just I want to be very respectful of everyone's time. We introduced this legislation about 3 weeks ago. And within the last 3 weeks, we've had interest from many areas of the state, Essex County, Passaic County, Morris County, and even Union County. We have support on this legislation from both Democrats and Republicans that have signed on to support this bill. So it is our hope. We have some committee hearings that are coming up before the budget is debated and considered at the end of June. So we're really hoping, we're pushing to get this legislation on the Assembly Environment Committee agenda in June of 2021. And so if there's anything that you all might want to do to help, it will be to appeal to the chairman of the Environment Committee in the State Assembly. And I will make sure I put this information in the chat. But if you can help, we would just ask that you write an email to the chairman of the committee requesting that the legislation will be considered in the upcoming environmental committee in the State Assembly. And so I will put all that information in the chat. We'll also follow up with Sean afterwards to provide that information as well. Sean, I will stop there. I know that there were a couple topics that you had sent over. I don't know how much time you had allotted for me, so I'll just stop there for a second and see if you have any input.
No, that's awesome. And the one great thing about Tri-County Sustainability, it's 101 towns. It's 10 legislative districts. So each one of us can reach out to our. Funny enough, the one thing I'd ask you to explain. I'm in Oakland, and every town that surrounds me is part of your district, but we're not in your district. And so if you could just spend maybe 10 seconds and explain how they create districts in New Jersey, that'd be really helpful. That was a joke. That's a joke.
Well, I was going to say, you'll see this play out. Well, as we all know, with the census being delayed, we'll see this play out for our own eyes and entertainment over the course of the next few months in the next year or so. So.
Sure, but should we all be reaching out to our own assembly people and our own 10 legislative districts on the line? So our own senators and our legislators, our assembly people, right?
And Sean, that's a great point. As we work to get this legislation considered, obviously the important piece of this is to have the chairman of the committee give the permission to allow for the bill to be heard and voted on, which will allow that then to advance to the General Assembly. But what you can also do, and this is another area and avenue of advocacy, you could reach out to your individual legislator and ask them to sponsor this legislation. And by doing that, we can build the list of sponsors to the point where the legislative leadership might not have a choice based on the support that they have on this bill to move it forward.
Right. That's awesome. And I'd say, obviously, our frontline communities are impacted by this, but it's not just them, right? It's the entire state. It's Gloucester County certainly has had some problems with dumping. Burlington County, it wasn't too long ago, what Brendan Byrne Park had some massive illegal dumping problems. So this bill would help the whole state, right?
Absolutely. And just to put a finer point on that, I was listening to the radio recently, and there was a caller from Pemberton who was explaining how close they were to some of New Jersey's most precious space, and the fact that this has been a problem they've been dealing with for decades. And it's something that while we're working on this will be what I would call the penalty phase of this. We're also working with the State Attorney General's office and also our federal delegation to provide more resources for the enforcement piece of this, the identification on the front end that needs to happen too. I just wanted to throw that out there. So it's a piece of the puzzle, the greater puzzle. That's
awesome. And I'm sensitive to your schedule, and thank you so much for your time. The one thing I'd say is this bill is a stick, and it's important to have sticks. There's also some carrots we could probably work out with our friends in the business community to help them with their supply chain management and less waste reduction. So maybe that's something we'd ask you to think about going forward, how we can do both sides of it, carrot and stick, right?
I'm happy to have that conversation, Charles.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Assemblyman. Have a great night. We really appreciate it. And you're welcome back here anytime.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Okay. Val, I guess we're going to stick with me for a minute, right? Okay. Okay. So as many of you that were on our last call remember, I think I speak for a lot of us on Tri-County Sustainability. Certainly the leadership team, we are pro mass transit. And it's, it's a very important thing for both for, economic reasons and also for environmental reasons. But, it's important that all voices be heard. And it's also important that we can agree without being disagreeable. And that's not just hyperbole. One of the good things about folks who might disagree with us is that helps us make better legislation. That helps projects become better if we can take that feedback and learn from it. So we know there are folks that are against this, this Glassboro Camden rail line. I'm an advocate for it, but I do think it's important that we think about things like cost and we make sure, we're not just spending frivolously, that our investment dollars, there's a return on investment on all of that. And also, what is this, full life cycle sustainability of this thing? And so with that in mind, at our last meeting, we were running over on time. So Ryan Campbell wanted to give his thoughts on the railroad. And so Ryan, I'd like to invite you back to give us a quick update and some comments on what your position is.
Sure. Sean and members of the Tri-County Sustainability, I would like to extend my utmost gratitude and appreciation for inviting me to speak tonight. I'm going to be speaking on the historically proposed light rail, commonly referred to as the GCO. Tonight, I prepared a brief breakdown of the many reasons why and many others believe the project is a boondoggle. We have put thousands of hours into comparable rail systems, the current published EIS, and have discovered many troubling facts. The light rail is in operation. There is a light rail in operation right now called the Bergen County Rail. Looking into the funding sources of that, we determined that 41% of it was funded by the FTA, that's Federal Transit Authority. We asked the DRPA, NJ Transit, New Jersey senators, and many others where the money is coming from for the GCO. We know in 2009, the FTA claimed the GCL did not qualify for federal fundings. We found that to be fact. Based on documentation received through Oprah requests to several entities. So we asked, why does it not qualify? The answers were relatively simple. Number one, it doesn't meet ridership. Number two, it doesn't meet cost effectiveness. Number three, it has no commuter time savings. The original inception of the GCL is 1996, a quarter century ago. Its cost compared to the River Line, its closest comparable is the River Line, which already needed millions and millions of dollars in upgrades to still produce greenhouse gas emissions. The River Line runs up and down tracks all day, mostly empty, burning diesel fuels. The River Line has never, even in pre-COVID world, hit ridership in which its estimates were projected at the start. With population less to serve on most of the towns in the proposed boondoggle, servicing having very little potential for increased population, as most of these towns are fully developed, how would this rail be sustainable? It is estimated in 2009 that the proposal will cost $1.2 to $1.8 billion. The comparable train, again, the River Line, which was built in 2004 and is almost twice as long as the GCL, is what costs $1.1 billion. So if standard inflation has doubled the cost to build from 2004 to 2009, there is a bigger picture, and the cost of materials has inflated at an unprecedented levels over the last year. Nobody knows what this project will cost, but we know it is north of $2 billion. I think we are all going to agree on one thing. We do want better public transportation. If we spend billions of dollars on a quarter-old century idea, how does that help grow and sustain for tomorrow? Our current governor has allotted a mild $150 million to electric buses and trucks for the entire state. How is $2 billion feasible for just a small county? In 2009, there was a state-run feasibility study reviewing three options, one being the GCL and another being the preferred community rail, which is a nice high-speed line traveling down Route 55, which is electric, giving easy on, easy off access to highways, completing the same goal as the GCL with much more communities being serviced. We must stop spending money, efforts, and resources on a light rail that is outdated. We must look further into the future and plan for electric buses and electric trains. Thank you, everyone, for your time and listening to my position on this matter.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. And again, we can agree without being disagreeable. I think cost is something we always have to look at. But sometimes infrastructure, costs a lot of money. And, it's certainly a dialogue that needs to continue. As I say, I am in favor of this rail line and I support it, but I certainly, think we need to continue the conversation. And you do raise good points that I'm sure there are counterpoints to from DRPA and some of the other groups. So again, everybody's welcome at Tri-County Sustainability. It's a democratic organization, if you will, lowercase d. And so, Val, thank you for giving me all this time. I will turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Sean. And thank you to Assemblyman Bill Millen for his time. So now we're moving on to the fun part of the agenda, where we will talk about some of the great environmental programs and resources available locally. First up is Craig McGee from the South Jersey Resource Conservation and Development Council. Just a quick bio on Craig. Craig is a district manager of the Camden County Soil Conservation District and represents the Camden SCD on the South Jersey Resource Conservation and Development Council. He is currently supervising multiple watershed-based improvement and restoration projects in Camden, Ocean, and Middlesex County, working with a broad group of partners These projects are demonstrating cost-effective methods to improve water quality, reduce stormwater impacts, and enhance wildlife habitat on public and private land. Okay, okay, Craig, over to you. You have to-
Sorry, I think I have to unmute him. Give me 1 second.
oh, okay.
All right, the obligatory, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Val, thank you very much. Again, my name is Craig McGee. I work for the Camden County Soil Conservation District. I've been there since 1988, so I've got a little bit of experience. Very quickly, for those of you that aren't aware, soil conservation districts in New Jersey are charged with implementing the state's soil erosion sediment control law. We look at nearly every development project that's going to disturb over 5,000 square feet. We review the plan to make sure that during construction, there is no erosion or offsite sedimentation. We also review those plans to make sure that as a result of that development, we're not causing an impact to the receiving stream corridor. So if you can imagine taking a farm or a forest, turning it into a subdivision, we make sure that the soils stay on the site and out of the stream, and that the stream itself doesn't turn from a stream into a gully. And that is the biggest function of conservation districts in New Jersey. We also work with our federal partner, the NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, to provide services and make programs available to the ag community and others in those related possessions. And our district and many others have gotten involved in a variety of grant-funded work. And the programs that Val mentioned, some of those are Camden Soil District grants, others are the South Jersey RC&D. South Jersey Resource Conservation and Development Council. RC&D councils exist across the country. They used to be federally funded, they aren't anymore. And they're specifically made up of representatives from county governments and soil conservation districts, along with partners and other agency folks that wish to participate. The goal has always been to look into projects that perhaps a county government or soil conservation district couldn't do because they weren't a nonprofit. It gives us the opportunity to do things. In the past, South Jersey RC&D developed a weather monitoring network that provided weather data to farmers, to other land owners, to irrigation companies. That weather network has now been absorbed into the New Jersey Weather Network that's controlled by the state climatologist. We worked on a project years ago with the Natural Resource Conservation Service to inventory and inspect levees along the Delaware River. Those were all projects that were government funded and resulted in work that I'm going to keep saying those back and forth, that RC&D was able to do because of their status as a nonprofit organization. RC&D also, South Jersey RC&D also sponsors an annual bike ride. The Tour de Farms bike ride happens every fall. It is through the farm belt of Burlington County. There's 3 lengths of routes. There's a short 15, 16 mile one up to a long route, 50 miles. I think we've got about maybe a dozen farm stands along that route where you can stop, purchase their wares, their products. They get delivered to the stop point where you're able to pick that stuff up at the end of the ride. A lot of people consider it a really great ride. For a tune-up for folks that ride the Shore to the Shore or the MS 150. So if you're a bike rider, look into that. It's on our webpage, South Jersey, sjrcd.org. The other thing that the South Jersey RC&D program has done over the last few years, maybe 15, is what they call their Team Habitat program. I am currently the project coordinator for the Team Habitat program, project director. And Team Habitat has done a lot of work in the past with large landowners. The goal has always been to to coordinate the creation, the enhancement, and the maintenance of natural habitats. To that end, we've done things like seeding, herbicide treatments, riparian food plots, those types of projects. More recently, the RC&D Council has started looking into a basin seeding program. And specifically, what we're able to do is go into a stormwater basin, evaluate as to whether that basin might qualify for naturalization, and then convert that basin from a monoculture of turf grass, basically, to a native meadow. One of the reasons stormwater basins are all over the place. They represent a significant amount of open space. Most of them are maintained by frequent mowing. They provide limited habitat. They don't provide much of a water quality benefit. By enhancing these stormwater basins with native vegetation, whether it be native grasses or wildflowers or a variety of each, perhaps even some reforestation, you've improved the water quality benefit because the stormwater has to flow through this dense, thick vegetation. You've improved the infiltration capabilities in the groundwater recharge because the native plants will root deeply, opening that soil, reducing soil compaction, promoting groundwater recharge. We've created a native habitat, lots of habitat for ground nesting birds, other small critters that live in there. And we've reduced those maintenance costs to the municipality. A naturalized stormwater basin may only need to be mown once a year, once every other year. Typically, we deal with basins and we look only at the basin floor or the bottom of the basin, allowing the sides to be continued to be mown, and that sort of gives the appearance that we haven't abandoned that stormwater basin. And it seems to have worked out pretty well. South Jersey RC&D Council right now is working with Lakewood Township in Ocean County, the Ocean Soil Conservation District, the Lakewood Public Works Department, with funding to retrofit up to 12 to 15 stormwater basins in Lakewood. We just planted our first basin last week, about 1.25 acres, planted to native grass. South Jersey RC&D has the ability to plant or seed areas using a no-till seeder, no-till native grass seeder. We have access to a Truax seeder. This is a big piece of farm equipment that will seed through the existing sod, put the seed right at the proper depth, and you don't need to kill off the existing vegetation. That seed drill requires a 70 horsepower tractor, and it's not very suited for small sites. So South Jersey RC&D just purchased a smaller seed drill. We can use that drill on a smaller site, probably as small as 1/4 acre. Our services are available. We can rent some of our equipment to users. We also will provide an operator and do that type of work for you. And we believe that gives municipalities, landowners, basin owners an opportunity to create new habitat. You can certainly learn more about the South Jersey RC&D program at our webpage, sjrcd.org. I think I saw it got posted out there in the comments. You can contact your soil conservation district, who can give you information about this, or you can reach out to me at the Camden district. So I think I don't know if that's my 10 minutes, but that's as much as I can tell you, as fast as I can tell you that.
Great stuff, Craig. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So like you said, you have any comments, or if you want to reach out to Craig, the website was posted in the chat. So now let's bring it back to Deb Hammond of our TCS leadership team and Delran Green team to talk about some exciting develops in Burlington County. Deb?
Thanks, Val. Well, Delran welcomed the New Jersey Farmers Against Hunger in April. They broke ground, and we've invited Elise to give us an overview on what their program is all about. Elise?
Okay, thanks so much,
like,
Deb.
whoa.
Here I am. I'm here. Thank you so much, Deb, and thank you everybody for the opportunity to be here. My name is Elise Yarpathruni, and I am the Director of Programming and Outreach for New Jersey Farmers Against Hunger. Farmers Against Hunger is actually a program of the New Jersey Agricultural Society, and we've been around since 1996. So this is actually our 25th year right now that we're celebrating. And our mission is to connect healthy foods from farms to families, specifically, as much as possible, New Jersey produce to families in need all across New Jersey. And we work throughout the state, but we are more or less centralized. So we do work throughout the Tri-County area a lot. We're heavily located and serve these 3 counties. So we accomplish our mission through both gleaning, which is harvesting surplus produce on farms for distribution to people in need. And we work with about 50 or more farms each season that donate their surplus produce to us, and about 50 more farms who support us financially as well. And then we also accomplish our mission through food recovery as well, with the grocery stores, wholesalers, distributors. So we not only glean, but we participate in food recovery as well. So our mission, really, the connecting healthy food from farms to families, really has 3 parts or goals. And first and foremost, we want to reduce food insecurity in New Jersey by providing fresh, healthy food to people in need, fresh, healthy produce. Last year in 2020, we collected 2.2 million pounds of food that would otherwise have pretty much gone to waste. And then we distributed mostly to 85 different community organizations. Those would be food banks, soup kitchens, church pantries, senior centers, all across the state. But in 2020, because of COVID, we also started doing direct to resident distributions as well. So many people reached out and didn't know how to navigate the system. They were experiencing food insecurity for the first time and didn't know how to get food. So we started doing these direct to resident distributions. And we did 42 of those last year as well. We served about 10,400 people each week during 2020. So food insecurity is the primary part of our mission and why we were started in the first place. But by default, part of our mission is also to reduce food waste at farm level and also at the grocery store level and other food retailers. So that's a big part of our mission as well, is to reduce food waste. And then the third part of our mission is to provide educational opportunities and programming, not only focused on food insecurity and hunger and nutrition and cooking, but also on environmental stewardship. So we also want to make sure that we address the environment and everything related to that. So of particular interest to this group, and which Deb alluded to at the beginning, is that we just broke ground on a new headquarters in Delran Township on Creek Road. We're very, very excited about it. It's called the Laurel Run Land Stewardship Center. It's, if you are familiar with the area, it's part of a park, the Laurel Run Park, which is a beautiful park for walking. And it has a building and a cooler space that needs to be renovated, but is in good shape. It used to be a peach farm. And we have the opportunity, because of Burlington County, the county and the DEP Green Acres program, we've partnered to operate and maintain this property so that we have a place to call home, a place to centralize our operations. And it's hopefully going to be really transformative for us. Make us more efficient, but place to store the food that we glean in the cooler and other storage, dry storage, but also land to grow food for donation, and event space and educational programming space as well. So we are really grateful to the county for providing us this opportunity. The most important part of it is we hope to have the opportunity to expand that third part of our mission, which is the educational component. And we envision our educational programming to include learning opportunities for the public, especially children and students, but also interns on the farm plot from the communities that we serve as well. So we want to focus on conservation and regenerative agriculture to build an understanding of a sustainable and equitable food system, and include lessons on soil health with reduced tillage and cover cropping, pollinators, composting, and all the things that go along with them, nutrition and cooking. So we'll have, a teaching plot with raised bed gardens, which we already started with volunteers last week. And of course, the 2 acres in the near future that will be turned into a small farm to grow food for donation to supplement our gleaning and distribution programs as well. So we welcome volunteers for many things, including our gleaning, obviously, on farms throughout the state, but we also welcome volunteers for packing produce and distributions of produce. And then we'll have a lot more opportunities right here locally at this center in Delran for all kinds of things, including planting and harvesting and other farm activities. So I will put our website in the chat if you want to check us out and reach out, or if you're interested in volunteering, we'd love to have you. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Elise. And Craig, I hope you were paying attention. This may be a new site for you to put on the bike route.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, well, thanks, Deb and Elise, for all your great work that you're doing in South Jersey. Next up, we're going to bring Steve Huger to guide us through the steps for a healthier and more wildlife-friendly yard. Quick bio on Steve. As a Rutgers Cooperative Extension Agent, Associate Professor in Ocean and Atlantic, Steve conducts education programs and research projects to address the environmental needs of the clientele of Ocean and Atlantic counties. His focus is on coastal resource issues, especially water quality, protection, and management. Steve has collaborated with the Jersey Friendly Yards program to support sustainable management of our landscape 1 yard at a time. He received his PhD in environmental science from Rutgers University in 2010. Thanks, Steve, for joining us, and you're up.
Okay, thank you so much, Valerie, and thank you everyone for having us tonight. Would it be possible for me to share my screen? I do have a few slides to go through. If not, it's going to be a very, very short presentation. But I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about the resources we have available through the Jersey Friendly Yards program. And okay, I can share. Awesome. It's always the technology and it's always the volume that we have to double check first. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see the slideshow. If I can get it started. Yay, the technology is working. Awesome. Thank you guys again. Tonight, I'm just going to give you guys a brief introduction to Jersey Friendly Yards. Jersey Friendly Yards is a partnership between the Barnegat Bay Partnership, which is the National Estuary Program for New Jersey, and the Ocean County Soil Conservation District, so continuing the theme of working with the soil conservation districts, and Rutgers Cooperative Extension in Ocean County. Even though that we are organizations that are working along the shoreline, primarily in the Barnegat Bay watershed, Ocean County area, this is Jersey Friendly Yards. So this is meant to be information and resources that are available throughout the state of New Jersey that can be used throughout the state. Basically, Jersey Friendly Yards, we like to call it your one-stop shopping for working with nature when you're making decisions to help landscape a residential yard. Obviously, the landscaping principles can be brought to community projects, municipal buildings, etc. But we're really looking to make a healthier environment, as we like to say, 1 yard at a time. The main resource that you guys can utilize is our website, which is jerseyyards.org. Remember the double Y when you type it in, it's Jersey Yards. There's 2 Ys right in a row. But we have lots of resources that are available. lots of guidances that are there to help people design a sustainable, healthy landscape. We go through our 8 steps for a Jersey-friendly yard. We have a searchable plant database. We have interactive mapping, information on where to buy native plants. So not just recommendations to get native plants, but where you can actually go and buy them. And that's broken down by county. So you can look up your county to see who's selling native plants and where you can get them from. The 8 steps that we utilize for Jersey-friendly yards are outlined here. It's to plan before you plant. So obviously stop and think about the landscape and what the site is telling you and what's going to be the best plants to put in the ground. So we always say the right plant for the right place. So make sure you're doing that planning before you go ahead and start planting things in the ground. Secondly, we talk about starting with a healthy soil. Healthy soil is the foundation for a healthy yard. So you got to make sure you know what's in your soil and that it's healthy and that it will support the plants that you want to put in. Thirdly, is water wisely. We talk about water conservation and ways to actually be smart when you do watering outside. I don't know about you guys just yet, but we had some thunderstorms just roll through. I live in central New Jersey, so don't have to water too much tomorrow, but we desperately need the water because it hasn't rained for a while. So we talk to people about wise ways that they can water their landscapes and to actually help to conserve water. We talk about fertilizing less, so using less fertilizers, so there's less pollutants that can wash off into our local streams and cause problems. We talk about managing pests responsibly, so make sure that you're actually using integrated pest management, different strategies to help reduce pests, or to just be kind of tolerant to some pests that are going to chew on some of your plants and just let them kind of grow and thrive. We also talk about reducing lawn size, so if you have turf grass and you want to reduce that, you can go ahead and replace that with native plants. You can replace that with other landscaping, but really to reduce the amount of lawn size, because lawns are actually one of the thirstiest plants, vegetation types that are out there. They will utilize a lot of water, especially in the summertime. We have people promote and create healthy wildlife habitat. So putting in plants that will help pollinators. Monarch butterflies tend to be the poster child for this, but other animals that will come to your yard to help pollinate plants and actually bring wildlife to your yard, you can do. And the 8th step that we talk about is reduce, reuse, and recycle in your yard. So are there parts of your yard that you can actually reutilize somewhere else, say like breaking up concrete paths and using them as stepping stones, that kind of thing. So there's all these different steps that you can take that can help move you towards a Jersey-friendly yard, but it all boils down to native plants. And I know you have someone from the Native Plant Society talking after me, so I'm not going to steal all their thunder, but it all comes down to utilizing native plants. They will thrive in local soils and they're used to local climates. Like I said before, we haven't had a lot of rain in a while, but native plants are adapted to those changing conditions and they're pretty hardy. So they can withstand an area, a time period where there's not that much rainfall, or they can survive in a time when there's excess rainfall. So they have that adaptability to local conditions. They also will conserve water. And also reduce your need for fertilizers and pesticides. They'll also reduce your need to provide maintenance. I always tell people that native plants are not no maintenance plants, but they're low maintenance plants. So you will actually, reduce the amount of time needed to spend, maintaining your landscape if you're using native plants. And they're also providing important habitat for local birds, local pollinators, other wildlife that come in the area. So obviously native animals are adapted to the native plants. So the more native plants that you put out in your yard, you can attract native animals, and mostly the good kinds of animals that you want to attract to your yard. Obviously a lot of birds, a lot of bees, a lot of pollinators, butterflies, etc. that are out there. So it all comes down to native plants. And one of the best resources that's available through the Jersey Friendly Yards website is the searchable plant database. For a long time, we've been making recommendations to people about what they should plant in their yard, but it really wasn't targeted for people's specific needs. This searchable plant database, which you can find at the jerseyyards.org website, allows you to put in all your site conditions, your soil moisture, the region you're in, the plant type you're looking for. Are you looking for a tree or a shrub or a fern or a flowering plant? If you have any specific colors that you're interested in planting, if you want to keep the aesthetics going as well, whether or not they're deer resistant, which always makes me laugh because if a deer is hungry enough, it will eat anything that's out there. So take that with a grain of salt. But also it talks about your soil conditions, like how acidic is your soil, how moist is your soil, how much well does it drain. So you can figure out what the best plants are to plant in your respective landscapes. And what you do is you check off on the left-hand side of this screen, you have all those different characteristics. You check it off. The more you check off, the plant list on the right will automatically adjust and search the database for you and come up with a plant list. One of the things you can do is you can register. If you see the blue bar with the wheelbarrow on it, if you click on register sign in, it's basically just your email address and a password. We don't sell that list to anybody. It stays within. But what you're able to do is on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see there's a grayed out wheelbarrow. You can click on those and tailor your own list of native plants to your yard and your site. So if you guys, I believe, are mostly with green teams, if you're doing a public project, you can kind of figure out what kind of plants you can put in the ground for, say, a pollinator garden or, a butterfly garden or a rain garden or et cetera. So all these resources are available on the website. But one of the things that you guys probably want to know about is how would this fit in with Sustainable Jersey, and what are some of the practices? What are some of the actions in Sustainable Jersey that you guys can kind of utilize these resources for? And I just went through the Sustainable Jersey website and just took a quick look at some of the resources, ways that the Jersey Friendly Yards can fit into those actions. So under waste reduction, one of the steps that we have is reduce, reuse, recycle. Composting is a huge part of that. So a backyard composting program, you could kind of tailor it to your local needs and use the resources at the Jersey Friendly Yards website to help you develop that program and get the points for that. Same thing with the grass cut it and leave it program. We're big proponents of grass cycling, which is basically just leaving your grass on your lawn after you cut it. It will add nutrients. It will actually help to act as a little bit as a mulch and reduce water loss. So you'll save some water that way. But if you incorporate some of the resources at the Jersey Friendly Yards website into these programs, then we've done most of the work for you guys already and kind of started that going. Up on the upper right, the water conservation education programs. This is the one that's near and dear to my heart because my background's all in water and water quality and water management. But a lot of the landscaping practices that we're talking about help to conserve water. So you can incorporate the materials from the website into some sort of education program for people to reduce the amount of watering that they're doing outside, how much water they can save on an annual basis. You can also talk about the use of rain gardens and rain barrels to help conserve water as well. On the bottom left, innovative projects. I like this for Sustainable Jersey because it's kind of a catch-all for all projects. So you can do rain gardens under this and you use the information from the Jersey Friendly Yards website. You can put in a pollinator garden and use the plant database to select your plants and to select your plants and find out where to find them, et cetera. Same thing for the bottom right, tree and woodland management. There's a tree planting program. The database does include native trees. So if you want to work with a local shade tree commission or other groups in your area, you can work through the website and find out what trees are native that you can kind of put in the ground and plant there. So these are just some ways that you can kind of connect the Jersey Friendly Yards website and the resources that are available to your needs. Also note that all the project partners, myself, Ocean County Soil Conservation District, Barnet Bay Partnership, we are very happy to talk to groups as well too. So even though we are located in the coastal areas, we may know people or we may come and talk to other parts of the state because like I said, this is Jersey Friendly Yards and not just Ocean County Friendly Yards. So if there's any topics that you guys would like to learn more about, we can come out and talk to your groups about it, even if it's just walking them through the database to see how they actually would do it. And now since we are so used to doing things online and doing webinars, we have a much larger reach in the state. And so we can basically virtually travel to other parts of the state to talk to you guys. I will put in a plug that we do have a webinar series that we've been doing through Jersey Friendly Yards. We are wrapping up the What's Bugging Your Jersey Friendly Yards, which was all about native insects and pollinators. And we'll be starting up the next series, I believe in July. Where we'll be talking about other topics. So if you go to that website, that jerseyyards.org, you can get more information on those workshops as well. And I think I talked really fast and got in under the 10 minutes, but just barely.
Steve, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I was taking notes. That's great. It's an awesome resource, and we'll definitely, we'll stay connected so we can always promote a lot of your programs, and I'm sure Green Team members will be reaching out to you.
Fantastic. That's what we're here for. So
great. Thank you. So sticking with the plant theme, now let's bring in Michael Jacob from the Native Plant Society. Michael Jacob is an Eastham Township Environmental Commission member, and he is the Vice President of the Native Plant Society of New Jersey. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Valerie. I'm like a lifelong gardener and environmental advocate, and I love puttering around the yard and gardening. And I always thought I had a really wildlife friendly yard, would have a bird bath and some birds and bird feeders. Until around 4 years ago, I read a book by Douglas Tolomei, Bringing Nature Home, where I discovered that a lot of the plants in my yard were from Asia, from Europe, not from North America, and really weren't supporting any of the native birds or insects. And I really got into the native plant thing and, found the Native Plant Society and got very seriously involved with that. And now I'm vice president. So if I could share my screen, I have a little presentation too.
John's working on that now.
Okay.
Go for it.
There we are. Okay, do you see the screen? There we go. You see the screen now?
Yep, you're all set.
Okay. So the Native Plant Society of New Jersey. Native Plant Society, it's a statewide nonprofit. Was founded in 1985. It's been around a while. And it's dedicated to the appreciation, protection, and study of the native flora of New Jersey, native plants. We're organized into chapters. Some are county-based, some are regional-based. And, we have hundreds of members. Some people are, professionals, some are amateurs, the whole gamut. Our chapters range from Sussex all the way up in the Highlands to Cape May, down at the Delaware Bay Shore. The chapters, they meet in small groups, at least, prior to COVID, they would have little in-person meetings. They would have speakers. We do field trips, walks, and hikes to different nature preserves. We do garden tours. We do plant sales and swaps. And lately, the chapters have their own little Zoom meetings. Where some have speakers and some are just people get together to talk about plants, swap tips. Our social media, we've always had our website, npsnj.org. It's updated almost daily with new announcements, news items. Our webinars, many of them are recorded. Recordings are available on the website.
Hey, Mike, I'm sorry to interrupt real quick. We're having a little trouble seeing your slides. We just see a white bar. So maybe you could close the show and just start it again.
Sure.
There we go. We see it now.
You see it? Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. And so we also have conferences. Traditionally, we have a spring and a fall conference where we have 3 or 4 speakers. We have different vendors and other groups give presentations, tables. We have usually at the conferences, we'll have plant sales, we'll have seed swaps. So it's good for everybody can meet. In other forms of outreach,
Mike, I'm sorry to keep doing you. We see that white bar again. Maybe if you could just get out of presentation mode, we can see most of your screen on the with the slides when you just do it in regular power. There you go. So we can see that outreach slide. It's just I can think whatever that next slide is.
Oh, the sharing is, it must be sharing my desktop or something.
Okay. But what we can see, if you want to just do it from PowerPoint, we could probably see the slides too. That's
yeah, we have a couple scholarships that we offer. We have last year we did mini grants where we had people apply and we gave out little grants to do little native demonstration gardens. Some in private areas, some in public areas. We also have a program where we collect and swap seeds, and we try to do plant propagation with the seeds, and we're trying to grow plants that are, not as widely available, plants that are endangered, see if we can grow them and restore them. And we're trying to get more involved with other organizations, with Rutgers, with Duke Farms, and sponsor some research into native plants. Why native plants? Steve covered a lot of this, but native plants have evolved with the local soil and climate. So there's less need to water them because they should be used to the average waterfall in the region. There's really no need to fertilize them. Nobody's in nature going out there with the Scott's Turf Builder. But if you want to do something, you can put compost on there. You can, in the fall, the leaves, you can do the leaves litter is the natural fertilizer. And there's no need for pesticide at all because you want the bugs to eat the plants. That's really the whole point of the native plants, is that the caterpillars eat the plants, and the caterpillars are the perfect food for the baby birds in the spring. And then the adult birds, they eat a lot of insects, insect pests. So it's a whole cycle of life thing. Many of the butterfly and moth species, their larvae, caterpillars, they can only feed on one species of native plant. There are generalists, but everybody knows about the monarch that can only eat the milkweed. Spicebush swallowtail can only lay its eggs, and the caterpillars can only feed on the spicebush. And there's quite a few moths and butterflies like that. So if you don't have that diversity of native plants, you're not going to have that diversity of butterfly and moth species. And all those caterpillars feed the birds. So Doug Talamay, who I mentioned earlier, Bringing Nature Home, he did a study of two trees, the native white oak and the infamous Bradford or Callery pear, which is ubiquitous, throughout the landscape. So on two occasions, he counted caterpillars on both trees of the same height and age. There were 410 caterpillars of 19 different species on the oak tree. One caterpillar was on the pear tree. Second study, 233 individuals, 15 species on the oak, one on the pear. The caterpillars, they've evolved to eat the native non-toxic leaves that provide them high values of nutrients. So the non-native Callery pear, it looks pretty for a week in the spring. It blooms really nice, but it adds nothing to the ecosystem because the things that eat it are back where it came from. So that's a problem. And it's also, there's two issues. One is that it doesn't support wildlife. And the other issue is that it's highly invasive. The Callery pear was kind of like developed, and it was supposed to initially be sterile seeds, but it turned out they weren't. And so it spreads like crazy, which there's a certain time in the spring you just drive down roads and you'll see all these white blooming trees at the edge of forests and in the fields, and it just takes over, and crowds out all the good trees that support the wildlife. So to wrap up, Native Plant Society, it's a membership-based organization. Annual membership is only $20, and that supports, all our mission and outreach. Like I said, we do Zoom webinars, which are free and open to the public. We have the website, the Facebook page. We put out 3-4 times a year newsletter, electronic. We use constant contact to send out email updates with notification of meetings and other kind of things. We have scholarships and grants, and we have the local chapters that do local in-person events. So thank you.
That's really interesting. Thanks, Mike, for the update. And we'll have the link to your website in our chat.
Thank you.
So moving on, we have another Michael, Michael Johnson from the Rutgers, Burlington County Master Gardeners. He is the coordinator for the Master Gardeners for the program in Burlington County. And Mike, you're up.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invite from the Tri-County Sustainability Alliance. With the storms in the area, I'm going to try to keep this quick and speedy. So if you remember REM's "It's the End of the World as We Know It" speed, I'm going to try to keep it to that because I just don't want to disappear on you. So real quick, I'm just going to read right from our website the initial explanation of the program. Rutgers Master Gardeners are trained volunteers who assist Rutgers, New Jersey Agricultural Experimental Station in the Cooperative Extension in its mission to deliver horticulture programs and information to the general public. Anyone with an interest in gardening and a commitment to volunteer service can become a Rutgers Master Gardener. No previous education or training in horticulture is required. The Rutgers Master Gardeners are recognized and certified by Rutgers University, the land-grant universities, the state of New Jersey. The Burlington County program started in 2001. The national program was actually started, the initial program started in 1972 in Washington State by the at the Washington State University. So certification is pretty much, local certification is pretty much recognized around the country. And the surrounding programs are administered by Penn State University, University of Delaware, Cornell University in New York, and the University of Maryland. So the Burlington Master Gardeners volunteer their time to work on projects such as the educational plots at the Burlington County Agricultural Center in Morristown and the butterfly gardens located at Smith Woods. They volunteer their time to work at information tables such as the Burlington County Farm Fair, the Burlington County Earth Fair, and different farmers markets. They help staff a helpline, which is available to Burlington County residents that have lawn and garden questions. And they also create and participate in public educational programs. Basically, they're community educators. To become a certified master gardener, the trainees take a course that covers various horticultural topics. They participate in different trainings. They help on the helpline, and they also help with other projects. They also, in order to keep their certification, Master Gardeners are required to continue with their education, their community participation, and helping the community, also participating on the helpline. It is a title that's well earned. It's a title that a gardener should be proud of. It takes a little bit of time. Our next class will be starting somewhere, and it depends on what's happening with the pandemic, starting somewhere between mid-January to early February. It's probably going to be a hybrid class, part online, part in person. Burlington County residents who are interested can email me at the email address right above my head. Our website right now is under reconstruction. So if I gave you the website, you'd be wondering tomorrow, what's Mike's problem? Because there's nothing there. So the best way to get a hold of me with any questions is right above my head. As most things go over my head. So here's another example. Or if you go in the search engine, you can also just type in Rutgers Master Gardener Program and then look for the links to Burlington County. And the participants in the program, they continue to learn, they continue to teach, and what's most important, I think, is they have formed long-term friendships. The other thing I just will say quickly is a lot of the organizations are on here too. There's a lot of great organizations. We use them as a resource. We hope that the participation for them using us as a resource would continue to. So we do appreciate that help. And thank you for your time. So hopefully I kept it within the REM song. I didn't have it playing in the background, but thanks everybody. Have a good night.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. So Michael represents Burlington County in Camden and Gloucester counties. They have the certified gardeners of respective Gloucester County and Camden counties. Camden County, we're just getting ours up and really running, but everything that Michael just said, it applies with the certified gardeners as well. We have the horticultural school, we have the volunteer opportunities, and various, we have plant sales, and just we do helpline and do outreach as well, and speaking events. So it's just a great opportunity, no matter what county you're in. Burlington has a great program, and so does Gloucester and Camden County. We're getting up and running. We will be Camden County will probably be partnering with Gloucester County on quite a few things, particularly the Hort School. In Camden County, if you want any information, I put my email address in the chat. We at Lakeland, I have a regular traditional greenhouse. We have a perennial greenhouse. We have a 1 acre vineyard. We have a hydroponic greenhouse. And we're looking to expand our whole campus, and soon we'll actually be having a on-site visit there. So if you're interested, please reach out to me and let me know. But all these are awesome programs, so just keep that in mind. And there are also resources if you have gardening questions. So moving right along, let's move to our old buddy, Keith, who wears many sustainability hats, amazing man in his array. He's going to tonight to tell us about the horticultural happenings in South Jersey. Just a quick bio on Keith. He doesn't look like it, but he's been gardening for 30 years. I don't know. Did you start gardening before you were born? I don't know.
I appreciate that you think I'm that young.
But he's been gardening for 30 years. He's a certified master gardener and certified watershed steward for the Penn State Extension of Philadelphia County. He currently serves as the president of the board of the Horticultural Society of South Jersey. You're on, Keith.
Thank you, Val, and good evening, everyone. So I'm going to go over this relatively quickly to just save on time. So the Horticultural Society of South Jersey is a 100% volunteer-led organization. We promote education of a horticultural nature, and horticulture nature is very broad. Through various types of programming and activities. The primary way that we do that is through our speaker series. So through September through June, we have a monthly speaker. Most months, usually in December, we might have a members only activity, but most of the months through September through June, we have a speaker series. And we get speakers from all over the state. Sometimes we get speakers a little further out. And we do I'd be remiss if I don't mention this. So the programming that we put together, I don't think it would be as good as it is if it wasn't for, I'm going to give a shout out to Gwen Bale, who's on tonight. She's our first vice president for the Horticultural Society of South Jersey, and she chairs our programming committee, and she is a rock star. So without Gwen, I don't think we'd have the stellar programming that we currently have. So aside from our speaker series, we also we have a pollinator garden at Cherry Hills Croft Farm, where we showcase the different plants, and we're just getting that back up and running because they did some construction out there and they messed up the garden, so we had to replant it and put up new signage. We also provide scholarships to students in the South Jersey area. If we don't get a student interested in a particular year, we do have the option of giving that scholarship to a horticulturally themed organization in the South Jersey area. We do nature walks. They can be anywhere in South Jersey. Sometimes they're over here in my neck of the woods. I actually live in Philadelphia. So sometimes we might go to the Wissahickon and do a nature walk there. We do, so pre-COVID, we would do car and bus trips. So we would normally do like an annual bus trip, and we might go to, the last one we went to was the Brooklyn Botanical Garden. So we will go to different organizations and gardens like that, which is usually a lot of fun. And members do get discounted rates for that, but it is open to the general public. Again, pre-COVID, we would normally host a flower show, and that's members only. So we have not been able to do that for a while. And then some of the other things that we do, we will engage, I guess, in special projects, if you call them. So for a few years, and then up until COVID happened, we were, I guess we planted and maintained, I guess, containers. I can't think of the word, at Marl Crest Post Office. So some organizations will reach out to us to help facilitate things of those nature. And the recent one that we just did, which was pretty big. So we got a very generous donation from one of our members, and this year we gave away 100 kits, monarch preservation kits. And so they had 25 plants in them for like 25 square feet. And we partnered with Wild Roots New Jersey, who supplied the kits for us. And then we also partnered with the Universal Unitarian Church in Cherry Hill, and they have this awesome arboretum that I encourage everyone to check out. And so we partnered with them to give out 100 kits to basically the general public. It was free for anyone. Members got first dibs, and we went through all 100, and I think we had a waiting list. If you happen to not get on the list and you really wanted one, no worries. We will be doing that again next year. So we still have money left over, and we will continue that program for the following year. We also, continuing on that same vein, we also partnered with Collingswood because they're doing a Collingswood Monarch project. It's amazing how all these things just come together at one time. And so we offered to pay for 20 kits for them. We didn't hand them out, but we arranged it so that they could get them from Wild Roots, and then they planted them around Collingswood. And I'm starting to see some of the photos, and it's really encouraging to see all of these plantings for monarch conservation. So if you are on tonight and you did get a monarch conservation kit from us, I do encourage you to send photos to us, because it's important to keep track of that. And yeah, we just kind of want to see how they're working out for you, and we just want to see all those amazing flowers and those monarchs. And the last thing I'll leave you with, we are actually next year, 2022, the Horticultural Society of South Jersey will be celebrating 100 years. We have been around since 1922, and we are excited to see what we are going to do in the next 100 years. I don't think I'll be president in the next 100 years, but I'm excited to see what we're going to do. Thank you.
I don't know, you might be, Keith. Great job. Thanks a lot. Thank you for everything you're doing to sustainability in the region. Switching gears, we're going to turn over to Lauren O'Brien from Pay Up Climate, I can't even speak, Polluters, asked to join us to give us an update on their postcard campaign. Lauren?
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm coming from an organization called the Center for Climate Integrity, which upholds the Pay Up Climate Polluters campaign. And what that is national, nonpartisan, and nonprofit to hold the fossil fuel industry accountable for their fair share of climate damages due to their history of knowledge and deception about their products' role in climate change. And the documentation of this became widely available in 2014. Just showing you that 83 organizations throughout the state are with us in support via a letter to the Attorney General on this to take legal action, as well as there are local, county, and state resolutions and different levels of activity happening throughout the state in support of urging the Governor and Attorney General to file suit against big oil for this, as 26 other local, county, and state communities have done. This is a quick snapshot of charts and chart of the lawsuits actually. And I'm just putting in here right now my name and the website and also a postcard order form, so you have all that in front of you. But on our site, you will see this list of cases and explaining what the legal claims are and the ones that are more popular, et cetera. But it basically breaks down right now into consumer protection and common law torts, and sometimes fraud. And the exciting thing is that our own city of Hoboken has filed suit, New York City has filed suit, as well as the states of Connecticut and Delaware. And we know it's New Jersey's turn. This is an example of documentation that became widely available to the public in 2014. There are thousands of pages of documents showing exactly what the industry knew about their products, starting at least in the early 1960s, with very keen detail and science, because they hired their climate scientists to do it, and they commissioned reports like this from Stanford Research Institute to show exactly what those impacts were going to be with exact temperature predictions, and were astonishingly accurate. So that's 1968. This is 1978, another 34-page report right from Linden, New Jersey. And this is evidence of one of the deception campaigns funded in the millions. This was the Victory campaign in response to a 1997 UN protocol to reduce gas emissions. This was to make climate change a non-issue by pumping millions of dollars into misinformation, and misinformation continues today. So that's the short story on the history. And currently what everyone needs to know is that climate change is costing us billions and billions of dollars. We at CCI have a study on seawalls throughout New Jersey, because we have a lot of inland flooding going on, of course, tied to tidal waterways. So inland is not exempt, of course, from flooding in any way. And we also have a study that just came out on what it costs to air condition schools. Again, sorry to say, in the billions of dollars. We don't have that money in the state, folks, nor does the Office of Climate Resilience say that we do. So we need to be, quote unquote, creative, according to Chief Rosenblatt, and come up with other funds. We think this is not only creative, but it's just, and we need to do it. That's the slideshow there. I just want to make sure you also know that we have lots and lots of these postcard kits. These are already paid for, they're already stamped, they're already printed, and in some cases addressed. All right, thank you, Sean. So there's 6 cards in here, 1 to the governor, 1 to Senate President Sweeney, because he's sitting on a resolution that needs to go to the floor for a vote and already passed committee last year. It was sponsored by Senate Majority Leader Weinberg and a few other senators as well. And then there's 4 cards in here to send to New Jerseyans of your choice. Maybe a green team member, an environmental commissioner, a local elected official, a business owner who's getting slammed by climate change costs, a friend, a neighbor, to let them know about our campaign. Instructions are in this postcard. We also offer monthly postcard parties online, and you have room for a personal comment. So I want to make sure I can answer any questions before I go, and we'll certainly make sure I email all of this to you so that you have a place to find me.
Well, thanks, Lauren. I think we'll take questions at the end, because we're just trying to get through some committee reports.
Sure.
But we'll have your contact information there just in case we can't get to it, but great information. Thanks, Lauren, and to everyone and our guests for a great presentations tonight. Given our full agenda, we're going to take ask our TCS committee chairs to give up their updates in a lightning round, 2 minutes or less. And we're going to start with Isla with a policy and advocacy.
I think we're going to Lauren first, Sustainable Jersey.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, Lauren, you're up. I apologize.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you all. It's been a long time. And there's a lot of new people that I haven't met before. So this is really awesome to see how the hub has expanded. My colleague, Caitlin Volmer, who many of you guys know if you've ever gone for a grant in Sustainable Jersey, she's on the line, and I think she's going to talk first about a grant opportunity for many of you guys here in South Jersey. Go for it, Caitlin.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Yeah, and thank you all for letting me come on your meeting and talk a little bit about this grant opportunity that we have. It would be okay if I actually share my screen? I think I need special permission.
Go for it.
Sean will let you do that.
Thanks. Great. Size of a small presentation. Real quick, I just want to tell everyone about the Sustainable Communities Grant Program that is currently ongoing. Before I get into the thick of it, just to quickly go over my agenda. I'm just going to give a quick overview, talk about the timeline, talk a little bit about eligibility, how the funding can be used. I'll share some information about the new application since we're using the new portal. So if you are a veteran of the grants program, if you haven't applied for a grant recently, it's going to look a lot different. And then it sounds like we're doing Q&A at the end, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. And I can definitely pop my email address in the chat too, if anyone has any questions. So the Sustainable Communities Grant Program is supported by Atlantic City Electric. They're contributing $75,000 for grants this year. Sustainable Jersey is acting as an administrator in this program. It's technically not part of what you would consider the Sustainable Jersey Grants Program. It's just something that we're working with Atlantic City Electric on. So we already had an informational webinar, which is linked within these presentation slides. I'm happy to provide to anyone if they would like to have that. That happened back in May 14th. So the grant hasn't been open for that long. So still plenty of time to apply, with the first part of the grant application being due at the end of June 30th. The second part of the application is just that grant authorization resolution that is standard part of our grant application process. Basically, we just need the board to pass a resolution saying that the municipality is okay with and is willing to submit the grant application and is in support of it. We'll be notifying folks in early September whether or not they're going to get the grants, and we'll have an announcement event and make sure the funds get distributed sometime in early October. So this is a special grant cycle because it's only open to municipalities that are located within Atlantic City Electric service territory. So it's a very targeted cycle. So we're trying to do some special outreach, which is, once again, thank you so much for letting me come on this hub meeting, because I know a lot of these municipalities participating in the Tri-County Sustainability Hub are going to be within this territory. So you have to be within the territory, you have to be either registered or certified of Sustainable Jersey. And another interesting part about this cycle that's different from our normal grant cycles is that you are able to apply for a new grant even if you have an open grant. So typically, if you have an open large grant, you can't go for another one. And if you have any grants that are over 2 program years old, you're also not able to apply for a new grant. But this is a separate grant cycle. So even if you just got a grant through the PSCG cycle that we typically have, you can still apply for this cycle since it's so targeted. Even if you got a grant from the Sustainable Communities program from last year, you're still also eligible to apply as long as you will have that project completed by July 31st of this year. This is a really great opportunity for just municipalities to be working with any kind of partner organizations. The money can actually be passed through a municipality into the hands of a partner organization. So if there's any of the really great organizations you've been talking to or I heard speaking earlier, if you're interested in any of these kinds of projects and teaming up with a municipality, this is a great program to do it. It's also a great program to work together and submit applications for a wider regional scope project as a hub. So a lot to think about there. Just real quick, I'm just flashing the different towns within the Tri-County Sustainability Hub that are eligible for this funding. So if your name is on this list, that means that you can apply. I also have showing which folks are registered, not registered, and certified. If you're one of the towns that isn't bolded and isn't green, that means you're not registered and that you'll have to be registered before you're able to apply. So a lot of eligible towns. But if you're not registered, that's not a problem. We have staff that are available to help you get registered and get you started. The registration process is free and easy if you're not super familiar with Sustainable Jersey, if you're newer. And it gives you access to tools, resources, and grants to make your municipality more sustainable. So if you need help with that, we can help you. If you're curious about your grant history, If you have any kind of open grant that could be affecting your eligibility, or you're just curious since you're going through the grants process, what your grant history is, please feel free to reach out to me and I can definitely tell you what the past history of your grants are and if you have anything you need to close out. So the funding can be used in two different ways. There are going to be environmental stewardship grants and also resiliency grants. You can apply for one of each, but you can only be awarded one. So it could be a strategy that you apply for both and can see which one that you end up getting picked for. I believe we'll be deciding the resiliency grants first. So matching in-kind contributions are not required, though they are encouraged, and checks will be made payable to your municipality and sent to your fiscal agent. We won't be accepting any kind of projects that have already been started or have been completed. You can't get funding to reimburse anything you've already purchased. So just keep that in mind. It's okay if you're doing like a multi-phase project, maybe you did phase 1 already and you're looking to fund phase 2, that's fine. But if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to me. A little bit more information about the environmental stewardship grants. They're really intended to help municipalities plan for, protect, and improve public spaces such as local parks, natural areas, and recreation resources. Eligible projects include improving applicant-owned open spaces such as meadows, woodlands, and riparian buffers, making capital improvements for passive recreation such as installing trails, boardwalks, community gardens, informational kiosks, and observation platforms, developing or supporting open space programs, or acquiring parcels of land to be used for open space or conservation easements. In the past, we've seen a lot of trail creations, a lot of people using this opportunity to improve their parks, to fix some easements. You can even use it to help retrofit your water basins. There's a lot you can do. It's a pretty broad topic area for the environmental stewardship grants. So eligible expenses would include professional service fees, any costs associated with obtaining public input on plans, such as hall rental, advertising, printing, materials and equipment, and any expenses that support the acquisition by purchase or donation of open space or conservation easements, such as land costs, development rights, legal or consultant fees, surveying, environmental assessments, appraisals, et cetera, et cetera. The only thing that's really not eligible is just staff time for municipal or authority employees. So you won't be able to cover any salaries with this or any kind of basic operating expenses. So these grants, these environmental stewardship grants, do relate back to a lot of the Sustainable Jersey actions. However, I will say that even if you have a good project, it doesn't necessarily have to fit one of our actions. With this grant, since it's not technically through the Sustainable Jersey Grants Program, that requirement isn't as pertinent as it is with the other program. So you can definitely go for one of our actions and get some points through this program. But if you have a really interesting project that might not fit completely in one of these actions, please don't let that discourage you from applying. And just know that if you have any questions about eligible projects and how they relate to the actions, you can definitely reach out to us and we'd be happy to discuss your ideas. Resiliency grants are going to be awarded for projects that enhance a municipality's capacity to prevent and respond to catastrophic events and emergencies. Especially a lot of the coastal towns down in South Jersey can probably think of a lot of different ways they could use this grant. But eligible projects include the implementation of strategies to minimize the impact of severe weather events, natural disasters, or other emergencies impacting the environment, emergency operations, planning, training, and community outreach, and the purchase of supplies and equipment needed to respond to emergencies, including energy storage and stationary or mobile solar. So in the past, I've seen a lot of mobile solar power stations that could be used as like backup generators for senior centers or hospitals. We've seen a lot of planning documents such as watershed management plans, coastal resiliency plans, anything like that. And even rain gardens and other kinds of green infrastructure projects would also be considered under the resilience. Another category of grants that has a lot of broad reach. So similar eligible expenses with the environmental stewardship grants, you're not going to be able to use any of the funding towards municipal authority employee salaries or basic operating expenses, but you can use it to cover any professional service fees, any costs associated with obtaining public outreach and education efforts, and any materials and equipment you might need to complete the project. Another list of the different actions that you could use to help you with a project. But like I said, not necessary or required, but our actions definitely have a lot of really good information on how to complete a variety of sustainability projects. So definitely a good place to go if you want some project ideas. So the application is completed all online. It's going to be in 2 separate parts, which is a little different than how our grants program has worked in the past. The applications will be due June 30th, and then that grant resolution will be due a month later, July 30th, since we know it can take some time to get that board resolution passed. More information about the application can be found within the application information packet, which is a very lengthy document that I create for every single grant cycle, but it includes all the information you could ever possibly want to know about the grant cycle. So it's a really great packet to have if you're discussing the grant opportunity in a meeting, or if you need to send something that has all the information to someone to take a look at. That's a great resource right there. And we also have a lot of really great information on our website. So I have it linked here, but if you were to be on the Municipal Sustainable Jersey website and you go to the grants tab, you'll see the sustainable community cycle on the left and all of the information you'll need to know to submit an application there as well. So this is what the portal looks like. If you were to go straight to the application portal, there's a link on the website, there's a link in the packet, there's a link right here. So it would take you to this portal, which looks a lot different than what it used to look like. And I will say that there are instructions for, how to navigate this new portal, how to sign up for an account, how to do all of that, available via our webinar recording. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And there's also instructions linked within the actual portal itself. So just quickly to go over the application sections. The actual proposal end of things, that's what's due June 30th. You'll get access to that after you create a grant account. So if you haven't applied for a Sustainable Jersey grant in 2021, you're going to have to sign up for a new account, even if you've applied for grants in the past, just because we're using a new platform. And then you have to create a profile that has to be a primary contact that is someone who's affiliated with the municipality. So either a green team member, elected or appointed official, or a municipal employee. So if you are like an organization that's interested in this opportunity and wants to team up with municipality, please know that the municipality has to be the entity submitting the application, and it has to be a primary contact that is affiliated with the municipality. So you're going to be submitting all the different sections of the proposal for June 30th. And then lastly, that grant authorization resolution will be due July 30th. And there's just a little bit more information that would make more sense once you take a look at the application listed on this slide too. I won't go over. So to wrap things up, if you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to reach out to me. Any questions about the grants program in general, or about this specific Sustainable Communities grant program. Any questions you might have on the certification program or about the actions, you can definitely reach out to my colleague, Maureen Jones. I definitely encourage you all to apply. Like I said, it's a very targeted grant. So the chances of getting selected for a grant are higher than with our other cycles, which can be kind of competitive. And I know there's more of a limitation on the types of projects you can submit for, but I think they're broad enough that they cover enough of our actions where you could probably find something really interesting to apply for. So yeah, if you have any questions or want to brainstorm some ideas, please reach out. And thank you so much for hearing out. And I hope to see an application from at least one of the municipalities on here tonight.
Thanks, Caitlin and Lauren. That's really awesome. Great. As always, you guys are doing amazing work and keeping us moving forward. Next, we'd like to bring in David Steinberg to talk about our Towns Helping Towns program.
Hello, everybody. I'm amazed at all the wonderful presenters and the amazing information here. I'm definitely going to follow up some of the people that I've talked to. As far as Towns Helping Towns, we're doing something a little differently this year. There are 2 of us, Terry Chittenden from Waterford and myself. I'm making calls to some of the municipalities to be able to find out if they want to renew their expiration, or the ones that didn't quite make it last year, do they want to continue? We're having a little bit of difficulty with this, but in any endeavor, there are always going to be challenges. We certainly have one of the challenges here of getting a hold of people. Not everybody in some of the towns we're working with want to get involved with the sustainability, partly because some of them are overworked. They don't have the time, they don't have the manpower, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working on a couple of initiatives, one of them with not only Terry, but her husband Dave and Charlie Damiani, all from Waterford, to we want to create an innovative plan to bring some of the smaller towns into the fold. For example, that would be Tavistock, Pine Valley, which are golf courses. Population is very, very small. Woodland, Waterwood Park, Chislehurst, et cetera, et cetera. So we've had some discussions. I've reached out to Samantha from Sustainable Jersey. We're going to come up with some ideas, present it to her to see if these things are anything that we can move forward with. And I'm very excited because I believe that there's something we can certainly work on as well. So I'm going to put out a call for volunteers. We still need some more volunteers, even though I have a couple of volunteers that haven't gotten an assignment as yet, only because we're still waiting for some of the towns to get back to us. But we could always use more volunteers. And the reason why is very simply, we have 101 towns, 34 are certified. We have a lot of work to do. So I'm going to invite anyone who has a little bit of time, would love to be a mentor, who's already done this. I cordially invite you to contact me. I'm going to put my contact information in the website in just a moment. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton on to the next person.
Great, thanks, David. Next we have policy and advocacy, Isla.
Hello, everyone. I'm Isla Vasallo, and I have some good news regarding local policy accomplishments. The Burlington County Commissioners, led by Commissioner Linda Hines, recently passed a resolution in support of the New Jersey Green Amendment, and in the New Jersey General Assembly Legislative District 8, which includes where I live in Marlton, Assemblywoman Stanfield recently became a co-sponsor of the New Jersey Green Amendment. This is Bill ACR 80 in the Assembly and SCR 70 in the Senate. TCS, New Jersey Student Sustainability Council, and Green Amendments for the Generations all played a role in these accomplishments. And of course, the Green Amendment movement has been thanks to Maya Van Rossum. If anyone wants more information on the New Jersey Green Amendment, please reach out to me. And that's all I have for this evening.
Great, thanks, Isla. Next we have Patrick for Energy and Power.
Thank you. I do have a couple things to report. We started out our meeting tonight talking about illegal dumping. So we wanted to mention an event coming up in Camden. There's an effort underway called A New View Camden, and they actually have 6 art installations, public art in different spaces in Camden. All of the installations are temporary, and they are located in areas that were sites of illegal dumping that were cleaned up. Some are in neighborhoods, some are in public parks near the waterfront. A couple of us got to do a walking tour a few weeks ago of the sites, and upcoming in June, on June 12th, they're actually doing a bike tour. So it's called I Bike Camden. So they're going to do about a 7-mile tour around the different sites, and we'll get to see all the art installations. Starts off at Cooper's Point Waterfront Park. And again, we'll be sharing some information about this on our social media and in our email updates. Secondly, I wanted to mention that we are helping our friends at Cross County Connections, which is our local transportation management authority. They are going to be hosting a webinar on June 24th at 10 a.m. All about electric vehicles and electrifying your fleet in your municipality. So they'll have several speakers, some from the state of New Jersey, and our own member town, Runnymede, who recently purchased their first electric vehicle for the municipality and installed a public charging station, will be participating in the webinar as well to tell their experience and how they got it through in their town. Also, we're looking forward to this. The New Jersey Clean Energy Program has a lot of municipal and personal resident incentives to get an electric vehicle. Unfortunately, it was so popular that the funding ran out. So we're looking forward to July 1st, where it's supposed to be restarting the program with additional funds. So that'll be something we're watching to make sure that we can get that information out as soon as it gets restarted. And some good Gloucester County news. The Ocean Wind project that is working off the offshores of Atlantic City. The state of New Jersey just broke ground on the Paulsboro Port manufacturing facility that's going to be manufacturing components for the wind farms. They broke ground in April, and that's going to be up and running in the very near future. So we're looking forward to that. One last thing I wanted to mention, only it's not energy and power, but just because of our gardening theme of the night, I just wanted to shout out our own hometown team, Sustainable Monroe Township. We were just able to participate in a grant through Rowan University. So at our Williamstown Organic Community Garden, we were able to get 4 handicapped and IDD accessible garden beds installed. So that project just got completed, and we were one of 6 gardens in our 3 counties to be selected. So we're excited to get that going at our garden. So, and that completes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Awesome, Patrick. Always amazing work you're doing. You never stop. You're the Energizer Bunny. Next up is Bill with Environmental Justice.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and I always learn a lot at this meeting. So I want to talk a little bit about the proposed bill for the Clean Energy and Sustainability Accelerator. And I know it sounds like a particle accelerator, but it actually isn't. It's a proposal for a U.S. national green bank. It's going to be using public funds along with private investment to accelerate deployment of clean and resilient infrastructure in every community in the U.S. It's going to be independent, hopefully, nonpartisan, and a nonprofit financial entity. So what does this have to do with environmental justice? There are elements about this bill that will help low-income and distressed areas. One proposal will be electrifying homes, make them more energy sufficient, also possibly lowering energy costs through solar energy, and also, workforce, actually, targeting low-income communities to develop, to target a workforce for clean energy technology. So a lot of times with these new industries, are developed and new technologies, Black and brown workers and communities kind of get lost. So we don't want that to happen. So to that aim, I was actually included in a meeting with Cory Booker's office and Menendez's office, and to inform them how important this is to New Jersey and its distressed communities. And they were very, very supportive. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on this bill. I think, for us, possibly when this bill comes through, and hopefully will pass at some point, we might want to kind of recommend some ways for this money to be used. So that's it. If anybody has any more questions, let me know. I'm actually going to put the link to this in the chat, and it's pretty detailed. So, but if you have any questions, let me know. I'm learning more about it myself.
Awesome. That's great, Bill. So Lorraine, do you have anything you want to add about stormwater management?
Yeah, something really just quickly, I'll say something. I see anything with stormwater management is just super hyper local. So what I've been working on, and I've actually had some help from folks in this group. I really thank you folks. Isla, I'll call you out. And then there's a couple of people on green teams in other parts of Camden County and Burlington County who have actually asked me to do some work. Putting together some some material that can be easily reproduced by other towns that has to do with green stormwater infrastructure that can be handed out at the point of I guess, interaction between a homeowner who would like to have work done on their home and their construction office within their towns. And it would basically be like a flyer or whatever media is necessary, putting together something that can be used as a template that each town or each DPW department or whoever green team within a town can put together and include it as a packet that gets handed out to homeowners. And that basically would have to do with green stormwater infrastructure and reducing impervious pavement. I've reached out for at least on the Discord website to have folks send me photographs, original photographs, because to put some of this stuff together, I mean, I could copy pictures, you know, from now until forever off of Google, but of course that's not a good thing to do. So anybody who's got pictures of stormwater outrages or flooding or basement problems or anything that's an original picture and is pretty good, and you're willing to have us use it in some of this material, I'd really appreciate it if it could be sent to me. So anyway, that's what I've been doing, and then I'll let you know more about that as that happens, and some of the other things that that pop up here and there. So thank you. You're all great.
Great, thanks, Lorraine. Thanks everyone for your updates. And before we open it up for the round table, I see we have Cheryl and Randy on here. Do you guys want to say anything?
This is Randy Rothnow from Anjac. I really didn't have anything prepared for tonight to share with you. I know that I had presented some information on some work that I've been doing on organic waste reduction and being part of an organic work group. And those sessions are just kind of finishing up. So we're trying to be putting together a report for us to review and then send off for recommendations to the state with regards to the organic waste bill that was passed, the new law that's in place. And the other thing is, I also just wanted to thank Lorraine. She actually is going to be part of a webinar that Anjac is going to be having on June 16th on stormwater management. Chris Abrupto will be presenting on complying with the new stormwater ordinance, what it means to municipalities, and Lorraine's going to give her information that she has collected in Collingsworth about the variance granting variances and what that does to stormwater runoff and impervious surface, increase impervious surface. So I thank her for that. And that's it.
Great. Cheryl, I don't know how you did it, but you're upside down. But that's amazing, a feat unto itself. Do you want to add anything? Looks like you're frozen. Oh, you're turning.
I can see myself fine, but I just wanted to say that I didn't meet Lorraine. Randy had dealt with Lorraine, but Lorraine, I have Anjac has a lot of photographs that we would be happy to share with you. Some are at homeowner rain gardens and some are at municipal properties and schools. So, and that's really it.
Okay. Oh, there we go. I'll mute myself. Okay, so thanks everyone. So now let's open it up. Raise your hand in the Zoom and our moderators will unmute you. Please keep your comments to under 2 minutes. So if anyone wants to add anything or say something, please raise your hand.
It looked like Bonnie's was number one. So we'll go Bonnie's, you're up.
Hey, actually, can you hear me? This is Bonnie's husband. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Bonnie. What's your name, Bonnie's husband?
This is Mike Leahy. I live in Winona, New Jersey.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on Ryan Campbell's presentation tonight on the GCL. First off, I want to thank him for pointing out a lot of the unknown, not so obvious negative facts about this line. I've been talking to a lot of my neighbors here in Winona, and a lot of people who were actually for it. They thought they were for it until we started talking about how it's really going to impact our communities. And now all of a sudden they're not so much for it. Look, like Ryan, I am not against mass transportation. I'm actually for mass transportation. I take it a lot. So I'm in sales. I cover the whole Northeast. When I go to New York City, I take the train all the time. I drove in there one time. I'll never do it again. I learned my lesson. Shame on me. But, like today, I went to Lansdale, Pennsylvania, and then I had to go to Paulsboro, New Jersey, and I drove. And I know I'm selfish, but it's all about my time. And when I go to New York City, it just makes more sense to take the train. I drive up to Hamilton Township, get on the train. It's nice ride in. I get to do some emails. But really, I mean, look, if I worked in Paulsboro or at the Swedesboro Pure Land Industrial Complex, this train would do nothing for me. An electric bus would do something for me. I mean, we could take electric buses everywhere. Electric buses, I really think is the way to go. My wife and I love to go to Phillies games over in Philadelphia. I mean, it would be so awesome if they had like an express sports complex bus route where we could drive, say, like to the Deptford Mall, get on a bus, go across the bridge, get dropped off at the industrial or at the sports complex, enjoy a game, don't have to worry about parking.
Oops, sorry. I think we, sorry about that, Bonnie. Did you get muted by accident? Sounds like you got cut off. That was not intentional. We'll come back to you. We definitely didn't intend to. And by the way, electric buses are awesome. Totally with you. I think Dave Steinberg, you're up next. We'll come back to Bonnie's husband. I should say.
I'm unmuted. Am I back?
There you go. Yeah, you're up. You're open. But do me a favor, just because we've got to get everybody else in. Can you kind of wrap it up in 30 seconds or so?
Okay. All right. So anyway, again, this bus or this train line, look, I'm not against mass transportation. I'm for it. Where it makes sense. I'm not for spending tax dollars where it doesn't make sense. I think electric buses will take us anywhere we want to go. But look, once we spend $2 billion to put these train tracks down to go from Glassboro to Camden, they're down. You can't move them. So that's my piece.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. You're definitely welcome back anytime. Appreciate your input.
Thank you so much.
Good night. All right, David Steinberg, you are up next.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite you all to an event we're having at our brand new Runnymede Labyrinth in our park. As project manager, we just completed that in March. It's going to be on Father's Day on Sunday, June the 20th at 1 p.m. Now, one of the things that have come out of our most recent contacts with the Labyrinth is that we're now going to be working with some of the veterans that are suffering from PTSD and other issues. My project coordinator, I'm sorry, I'm the project coordinator. My event coordinator has a wellness business where she specializes in Reiki, and I've got a friend of mine, Reverend Oliveri, he does what is called timeline therapy as well, which has helped a lot of people. So we're looking forward to doing this to help the vets. The event we're going to have is going to be part of our grand opening of our labyrinth, and we've got a few surprises there as well. So I will put that in the Discord so everybody can get information on that.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. And next up, and again, we're just guessing that we're trying to get off the line by 9 o'clock. Everybody's been so kind already. Everett is up. You can unmute yourself. There you go.
Hey, thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just be quick. I guess I just wanted to, throw in my voice as, I hate to bring this up yet again because, there was a presentation on it and someone just spoke on it. So maybe everyone's bored about the topic, but I just wanted to say, as someone who's, pro sustainability as we all are, I want to express my support for the Glassboro Camden line and kind of balance out the no voices. I'm all for the electric buses. but I think we need to take a yes and approach to building mass transit and cutting carbon emissions as fast as we can, given the urgency of the climate crisis. I am for spending tax dollars to bring back what we lost, the train lines that built our towns. You look at Pittman, it's, a walkable downtown is very nice because it was built around train lines and mass transit. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Everett. Bill R., you're up next.
Evening, Sean. How you doing today?
Oh, hey, Bill. How you doing? This is our buddy Bill, the train guy himself.
Yes, just to co-sign what Everett said, but actually my question was going to be, so the presentation by Assemblyman Moen, I would like to write a letter. I would feel more comfortable, and believe me, I'm not trying to give you another plate to twirl, but it would be great if somebody could develop and maybe email out a possible text, or at least maybe talking points.
Yeah. You mean like get a draft for us to just add our name and our
right. Send it out to somebody like me, and then I can use that or finesse it, however, and send it off to Assemblyman Kennedy.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll get the Assemblyman's office to type something up, and we'll put it in the post meeting blast we send out in the next week or so.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Bill. All right. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Bill R., lower your hand. Arlene is next. I'm sorry. I'm just looking for your mute. There you go. All right, Arlene, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Awesome. Hi. Thank you so much for having everybody. Very informative.
Glad to have you.
Quick question in regard to the GCL. Everybody in here that knows me knows I'm very against it. My question or thoughts are, I understand all the towns along the train were built around it, but times have changed. Cars came into play. I live in a little town of Pittman, downtown. It's beautiful. It's awesome. Bill R., I know you live down the street from me. What is it going to do to parking downtown? That's my biggest fear, that the train's going to come through. Nobody's going to come to go shopping, dining there, and the local residents can't go there or go to the theater. It's just going to kill the business.
Yeah, no, hey, I'm with you. I think that's a big deal, parking. But part of it, I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole on this one, so we can definitely table this for the next meeting. But like, I'm one of those guys. Like, maybe we need less cars. Like, if your house was built in like a Craftsman in the 1920s, built for when like dad went to work and mom stayed home with the kids, maybe 4 cars is too many for your house. Those are some of the tough conversations we're all gonna have to have.
I know. Wouldn't that be nice if we lived like that now?
Right. Seriously, we got a lot of work to do. But awesome, Arlene. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I've learned a lot from the different speakers you had, and I will contact you. Very informative. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Jeremiah, sorry, I missed your hand earlier.
All right. So a couple things. For the Assemblyman, I don't know if he's here because I'm in a different district, District 4, our green team, and I think the fire department had the same issue. So I will probably pass that along there. Bill Johnson, I have your information, so I know I can contact you. But I have a question for Stephen Yearju. Am I pronouncing your name right? For the Rutgers about the soil. Is he still here?
I don't know. We might have lost him, Jeremiah. I'm sorry.
I'll just send him an email. Lauren O'Brien, do you have information on as far as the postcards and the website? I think it was really good. So I want that information. I have your information about the Green Amendment stuff, so that's for another time as well. But Lauren O'Brien, I don't know if she's here, but I want that information with the.
Awesome. And as I mentioned, the email blast will have all the pertinent links and links to the presentations. Also, we're going to post all this stuff on YouTube. And Jeremiah, it is awesome to see you at these meetings, especially the green faith stuff. You bring a lot of it. Just, first of all, I'm an old dude, so it's always good to see people under 30 at these things, to be honest. So.
I'm actually under 40 and well over 30.
Oh, then forget it then. We don't want you at these meetings anymore then. I'm kidding. All right. Does anybody else have their hand up? Oh, there we go. Bill, you're up. Oh, that was a thumbs up. Sorry.
That was a thumbs up and a laughter about Jeremiah's age. So.
Okay. All right. I don't see any other hands. Anybody have any closing comments? We will
Great
call
show
it.
tonight, everyone. Really good.
Great job. And
Okay.
only 20 minutes over this time. That's an improvement over last time.
So we're gonna stop now, but just so you know, don't forget the TCS Discord, and don't hesitate to contact us via info@tcasahub.org on Discord or social media. A recording of tonight's meeting will post it on the Tri-County Sustainability YouTube channel. And good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Val. Awesome job.